If I could start over from the beginning with my autistic son, what would I do? Hello everyone today. In this video, I'm going to answer this question, which I find extremely interesting and relevant for you, parents of autistic children. I am just like you. I am the father of a child, a boy named Alexandre, who is autistic, is now 9 years old, and was diagnosed with ASD at the age of 3. And recently, when I had an electroencephalogram done at a neurology clinic, this diagnosis was confirmed in July 2025 with level 1 autism. What would I have done if I had to start all over again at the age of 3 or 4? Why is this important? Because if you do have a child, which is probably the case, an autistic child, you need to act quickly because plasticity closes and becomes much more limited over time. Ages 0 to 7 are ideal, even 0 to 6. At 6 or 7 years old, at 9 or 10 years old, plasticity is already a bit reduced. At 12 or 14 years old, it is still significant. But after 13 or 14, the windows of plasticity close and it becomes much more difficult. It's not impossible, since according to scientific literature, plasticity remains active throughout life. But in a child, it is much more significant, and the longer you wait, the harder it becomes. With brain plasticity, that is its ability to repair bad wiring or electrophysiological functioning that is affected by emotional deprivation, trauma, a genetic problem, or something else. It doesn't matter. That's not the focus of this video. But the key is to act as early as possible. I wouldn't have listened to all those who tried to sell me miracle solutions, especially the ABA centers, which they try to sell you hours and hours with an educator, hours of stimulation. I'm not saying it's useless, but I'm saying that the effectiveness of a single educator when your child has a wiring problem, an electrophysiological issue, the effectiveness, the return on investment will be low. And for those of you who have a child and have already undertaken this kind of approach with large amounts of stimulation, if you're being honest, you know very well that the improvement is there, but let's be honest, it's minimal. Most likely the self-stimulatory behaviors haven't disappeared, the stereotypes haven't disappeared, and the auditory sensitivities haven't disappeared either, because that's simply how your child's brain works. The restricted interests, which are part of the ASD diagnosis, so the autism diagnosis, have probably not disappeared. Maybe your child communicates a little bit better, which I sincerely hope for you. But if there is an electrophysiological issue in the brain, if there is a problem with synchronization between areas of the brain, a problem with underactivation of a brain region, or an issue with an overcoupled, overly rigid network, no matter how much you stimulate, no matter how much you do, 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours of ABA sessions per week, you won't get very far. You will be blocked anyway. You have to address the source of the problem, and the source of the problem for neurofunctional issues is electrophysiology. And today with neuromodulation, we have great possibilities for improving this. And I'll take the example of my case with Alexandre, because what led me to share this with you today is what happened to me empirically with my son. I had a son who was almost stagnating. In 6 years, I saw 0 improvement. Yet I hired full-time psychologists for 1 year, 2 years. I took speech therapy classes. I had him do sports. I tried to help him socialize. I really fought like a lion for 7 years. In the end, I feel like I was just swinging a sword in water. Like I was fighting against the wind or a tsunami. There was nothing I could do. The improvement I saw was very minimal. The first changes happened when I started neuromodulation. I'm not trying to sell you a dream. I'm just explaining my own situation because I feel a moral obligation to share this, since it has never been shared before. Not by the psychologists or neurologists I met in different countries. Most of them let me believe otherwise. Take care of it. Give him ABA educator lessons. But accept it. You can't do much. It's the brain. There's not much you can do. This is false. Don't listen to them, those who drag you down, who tell you to take 50 hours of ABA classes, who try to sell you courses, or those who tell you to accept it, that you cannot do anything, to think about yourself and your own life. Don't listen to them. There are ways today to help your child improve. And among all those I have tried, the one that for me is not a miracle solution, but a long-term solution that allows you to change how the brain functions is neuromodulation. And it works through a scientific approach, meaning it starts with an electroencephalogram where the brain's activity is analyzed in detail in different areas. We are able to observe, and this is the case most of the time, problems with synchronization between different areas, issues of underactivation, overactivation, and problems with excessive coupling. In other words, the brain can sometimes be too rigid. And today, with neuromodulation, all of this can be changed. It can be improved. But what's impressive is that very few autism specialists are aware of this. And that's something I've never been able to understand because I lost 6 years. And today, the purpose of this video is to help you through an autistic child, to help your autistic child improve. You might not cure him, you might be disappointed, but you will help him improve. The literature shows us that we can hope for improvements of at least 10 to 20% for a child who is structurally autistic, meaning one who has atypical wiring. But in cases where there are traumas, a functional or neurofunctional problem in a child, the possibility of reversibility is much greater. Once again, all of this is documented in the literature. On neuromodulation, there are now more than 5,000 scientific articles, but nobody knows about it, which is surprising. So I am sharing my experience with you, and this mistake today, confusing structure and function, costs a great deal for many children, for millions of children around the world. So if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't listen to all those sellers of ABA therapy, all those who tell you that if there's nothing you can do, you just have to accept your fate. I know it's a huge source of suffering for you. For me, I am going through that. Every time someone said it to me, it was like a cold shower. Inside, I tried not to show it, but it was always a cold shower. It was always very unpleasant every time my son had an autistic meltdown or something else. It was very hard. But we can act on the brain as long as we actually look at what's happening in the brain. And that involves electrophysiology, which today, for me, is one of the greatest tools for the future of autistic children. There you go. I hope this video will help you improve your child, bring you added value, and raise your awareness on this issue. Don't listen to those who try to make you believe that nothing can be done for your child. Don't listen to those who tell you that only lessons with an educator work. Don't listen to those who tell you that you just have to wait, that your child will grow up. That's not true. On the contrary, take advantage of the brain's plasticity as early as possible, because the sooner you start neuromodulation, my hours will be, the greater the impact on your child's improvement will be, the more effective and faster it will be. There you go. I wish you the best of luck in helping your child improve.